Hi, this is Steve with OS Nexus, and in this video we're going to go through the process of provisioning block storage. Block storage in QuantaStor is referred to as a storage volume, and in the industry sometimes it's called a LUN. To provision block storage, you first need to create a storage pool using some group of drives, and depending on what your use case is, you might want to set that pool up as RAID 10, which is ideal for databases and virtual machines, or a parity-based RAID level. In this case, I've got a simple storage pool set up that is set up in a RAID 10 configuration, which is ideal for virtualization. So now let's go ahead and create that volume. So we're just going to click the Create button from the ribbon bar. You can also go here and right-click and say Create Storage Volume from the pop-up menu. Once you bring up the dialog, you can just name the volume. We'll call this one VMware DS1 for Data Store 1 and give it a size. Under the advanced settings, this is where we can control some of the security features. Like if we want the volume to be accessible via a specific chat username and password, we can control that here. We can also adjust the block size. For VMware, you're going to want to adjust this block size to make it a 64K block size. The rest of these settings, you probably just want to leave it as the defaults. Those are ideal for VMware. And now we just click OK to go create our first storage volume. We can create multiple storage volumes, just VMware DS2. So we've got a couple here for the example. And again, remember to set it to the 64K. And now we've got a couple of storage volumes. The volumes are not immediately accessible. QuantaStor does not give access to block storage devices without specifically assigning them to the hosts that are going to be accessing them. And for iSCSI, that means that we need to put in the IQNs of those host entries that are those servers that are going to be accessing these volumes. And for Fiber Channel, we would be putting in the worldwide port names. And that's all done in this section down here called hosts. So we're going to go down here and add our first host. We're going to call this one VMware Server 1 and put in the host type of that. I don't have a VMware server handy, so I'm just going to make up an IQN here. But you would get this from your VMware environment. Log into ESX and create an iSCSI adapter, and in there you'll get an IQN that you'll need to put into this dialog here to go create a host entry. If the IQN doesn't match exactly what's been set up in your VMware environment, you won't be able to log in. It won't give you access to the storage volume. So I'm just going to call this one VMware Server 1. Making up an IQN here again. Be sure to use the one that was configured in your VMware environment. And now we can go and give this access to our storage volumes. I did that just by right-clicking here and saying Assign Volumes. You can also do that by going to the menu at the top and saying Assign Volumes to Hosts. And I'm going to select both of them and click OK. Now, that's really simple, and we're basically done at this point. If we had one ESXi server and we're going to give it access to a couple of volumes, we're basically done. But more often than not, you'll have many VMware servers set up as a cluster so that you can move your virtual machines around in that environment. And in those in that case, you're going to have multiple hosts. So I'm going to go and create a few VMware server host entries here. And then we'll go and assign these volumes to all these hosts at once as a cluster. So let's go and add one more entry here. Call this one VMware Server 3. So let's say you have a 3-node VMware cluster. And give it a unique IQN for the third one as well. What we're going to do is unassign those volumes and then give them access to what we call a host group. So let's first unassign these guys. We could do this step before or after, but you can see that we've got these 3 servers and we want to give them all access to those 2 storage volumes. So what we're going to do is create what's called a host group. So we're going to name this one VMware Cluster 1 because this host group represents our VMware cluster. And now that we've got that, we can go and assign volumes at the cluster level and click OK, and we're done. Now, all three of these VMware servers have access to both of these storage volumes that we've created. If you had given access here where it's redundant access, that's not going to do anything. It just assigned it twice to this given host, but it already had access at the cluster level. So this is a harmless action, and you could add and remove these entries like that. And it's essentially, since it was a redundant access mapping, it's going to have no effect of additionally adding access there. But that's all there is to setting up and provisioning block storage, and then adding the host entries and then giving access. At this point, all three of these servers would be able to go and log in and access the storage over iSCSI. If you have Fiber Channel, you can right click and add additional initiators to these hosts that are for your Fiber Channel HBAs. You use the worldwide port name for the Fiber Channel access, and all storage volumes can be accessed via both. The steps that we just went through are available as a list here inside of the Getting Started dialog. If you go down to this section here, Provision Block Storage, it has the 3 steps that we just went through: create the storage volume, add a host entry, and then assign the volumes. Thanks for watching the video.